What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the greatest combat sports and culture show in the entire universe, the Fight Podcast. I'm your host, SERG VICENTE, and this is episode 316 of the show. Today, what we're going to go ahead and do, we are going to go ahead and preview the entire card. Well, maybe not the entire card, but we're going to go ahead and preview the PFL championships, which are tonight out there in Florida. We are also going to preview this weekend's UFC 267. That's all the way out in Diaz Island at Fight Island in Dubai. And we're going to talk some fight news. So we're going to have a great episode today. A lot of fun. We're streaming live today on YouTube and at Twitch. So everybody who's watching live today on YouTube and Twitch, thank you so much. Remember, everybody who is joining us, remember to check out the show and listen to the Fight Podcast everywhere podcasting is available. Apple, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Check us out at thefightpodcast.com. Follow us. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Please do that with the video. We really do appreciate that. We also started a Discord page, so go ahead and follow the Fight Podcast Discord. I'll actually have that in the comments below once this video uploads. So, hope you guys are doing great, having a great week. Man, fights have been back, and fights have been back in a big way. And a lot of things have been happening. I mean, even last weekend, obviously, we had the big UFC with Marvin Vettori and the whole debacle with Paulo Costa. We might talk about that a little bit at the end, but we also had Shakur Stevenson putting on a show against Jamel Herring. So there have been a lot of fantastic fights. Rico Verhoeven, even on the Glory Kickboxing, and so much has been going on. And this week is no different. I mean, Fedor. I didn't even talk about Fedor. Fedor got a big win this past weekend also. But this weekend is no different. We have this Wednesday, we have the PFL. Yesterday, we had the Dana White Contender Series, which was phenomenal. Once again, I'm telling you, time and time again, that Contender Series show that they do, UFC figured it out. I don't need Tough anymore. Tough can go somewhere. But again, this Contender Series, the people that come out of it are fantastic. The fights going into it because everybody knows the stakes that are there to actually jump into. So I really, really love everything that I see from the Contender Series. But there's been that. But there was that yesterday. Today we have the PFL championships that we'll go ahead and discuss. This weekend we have UFC. So a lot's going on, and that's a free pay-per-view. UFC 267 this weekend is a free pay-per-view because it would just be on ESPN Plus. So that's a great card that I'll preview that one as well. So without further ado, man, hope you guys are having a great week. Like I said, please subscribe, like this video, and let's go ahead and jump on into it. Headlining this weekend show, we have, honestly, the greatest fighter to ever come out of the PFL. And I'm talking about the PFL / WSOF. Yes, I know Justin Gaethje and Marlon Moraes and those boys came out of the WSOF, but the biggest star that the organization has had, the biggest star that the PFL has is none other than the lightweight champion, Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison is trying to make her stake, make her claim to be the greatest female fighter in the world. And you can tell that she's one of those athletes that actually wants greatness. She's the greatest judoka in American history, male or female. She has 2 gold medals. She's phenomenal in that. And she's always been somebody that has wanted to be the best in the world at everything that she does. And you can see it. The path that she's taken to get to this point, I think, is fantastic. She was a 2-time gold medalist. She got to the PFL. She could have jumped straight to the UFC, but she didn't. She chose to go to the PFL, jump into the tournament structure, really learn on the job, and training down to ATT, being managed by Dominance and Ali Al-Aziz. She is doing everything so well. I mean, up-and-coming athletes that are taking that path, like a Clarissa Shields, like a Holly Holmes, like, these athletes that have come in from other sports. You should really pay attention in the way that Kayla Harrison and, Israel Adesanya and others like that have done it. They've gone to these smaller organizations where they can kind of learn on the job. And now they're like, look at them. They're really the best in the world. So she's going out there to stake her claim to get her third. I mean, it is her third PFL championship. Kayla Harrison, 11-0. She's going out there going against the tough. I'm not going to say she's not tough. The tough Taylor Guardado. So Taylor Guardado, she is really well schooled. She trains out of, Extreme Couture out there in Vegas. And you know I love the guys at Extreme Couture. Eric Nixon's my dude. I think that they are one of the best well-schooled teams out there. There are a couple powerhouse gyms in the world, and they come from one of them. Taylor Geraldo is, if all things, we know she's going to be tough and she's going to have a fantastic game plan. But with all that being said, I generally don't think it's going to be enough. I think Kayla Harrison is going to go out there and do what we know that she's going to do. She's going to go out there and absolutely dominate this matchup. I think it's going to be something that's going to be ended relatively quickly. Taylor Geraldo has a great grappling game. I don't think it's going to matter. She's 3-0 this year in the PFL tournament. I generally don't think it's going to matter. Kayla Harrison is going to go out here. I think she's going to get a first or second round finish by absolute destruction. I think she's too much. I think she's head and shoulders better than all these women in the PFL, which kind of brings me to my next point. This is Kayla Harrison's last fight on her contract. So what does with the win is Kayla Harrison going to stay with the PFL? And I'll be very, very honest with you guys. Probably. Probably. You hear Dana White. Dana White has gone out on record, and he went out there and said, yo, you know, she needs to stay over there and beat up the girls that are there. That she can keep doing it and making a whole lot of money. So he was kind of throwing a little bit of shade, like, yo, the girls over here, she don't want that work. She don't want that action. She don't want the smoke. And I'm here to tell you, realistically, Dana's not going to want to pay her worth. So Kayla probably would be better off staying with the PFL. Now, she should go to Bellator. Scott Coker does a phenomenal job of building up. But if you think about the weight class that's over there, especially at 145, which is a weight class that Kayla Harrison can make, there's Chris Cyborg. Now, that's a huge fight. They can make that fight, but what else is there? And can they offer her as much money as the $1 million payday at the end of the rainbow that the PFL is going to do every year? And I'll be very honest with you. I don't think anybody else can offer Kayla Harrison the amount of money that the PFL could offer her. But what I will say is that, again, like we talked about at the onset of the show, I think that Kayla Harrison generally wants to be the best in the world. She wants to be fantastic. She wants to be the one that, when you really look at it, that we think about the MMA GOATs. When we're thinking about the MMA GOATs in the female side, we always look at Amanda Nunes. We always look at Valentina Shevchenko. People might even go out there and still throw up Ronda Rousey if you're kind of casual. But Kayla Harrison wants to be in that mix. Kayla Harrison wants to be that name. And I'll be honest with you, she does have the opportunity to do that. But even I think she knows that she's not going to be able to do that in the PFL. Now, one thing that I think the PFL can do, which I think is really interesting, is that Bellator doesn't mind going out there and loaning out their champions. Bellator, as we know, they went out there and had Darian Caldwell fight Kiori Horiguchi for their bantamweight title. And that's a fight that Horiguchi from Risen actually ended up winning. Horiguchi now is with Bellator, which is going to be a lot of fun because there is just a big fight announcement that we'll talk about in a little bit with Kiori Horiguchi, who is one of my all-time favorite fighters. Man, dude is realistically the best fighter to probably ever come out of Japan. He's that damn good. Dude is an absolute savage, but we'll talk about him a little later on in the show. But if she stays with the PFL, why couldn't she go out there and fight against old girl? Why couldn't she go out here and fight against Chris Cyborg? I can see them doing a cross-promotional fight. Why not? Let's see him do a cross-promotional fight. And I would love to see Kayla Harrison go out there and fight against her. I see that a fight that can possibly happen. And if she ends up getting the name recognition of a Chris Cyborg, then yes, I think people are going to really start respecting her as the champion that she really is. But all in all, we'll see what ends up happening, because this is one that I'm leaning towards her staying, but I don't fucking know. All right. Also on this card that I think a lot of people want to go ahead and discuss is, I didn't even write it down on here, but we have Ray Cooper III. That's the 170-pound title on this. Ray Cooper III, he's going against Magomedov. This is a great fight. This is actually a rematch of the 2018 PFL final. in welterweight that Magomedov ended up getting a second round rear naked choke finish on Ray Cooper III. Now, Ray Cooper III, 28-8, 2-0 this year. He beat Rory McDonald on the way into this tournament. A lot of people thought it was going to be Rory McDonald versus Ray Cooper, but Roy didn't make it. Ray Cooper already dusted him off, so he's fighting Magomedov. Magomedov, 28-5. Dude is an absolute beast. He is well-rounded everywhere. He can strike, he can grapple, and as we've seen, he's already finished Ray Cooper III. I spoke to Ray Cooper III yesterday in the PFL media days, and you guys can see all those clips on our YouTube page. We'll be uploading those very soon. But I asked him, what is your game plan? What are you going to go ahead and do in these matchups? And he just said, yo, my game plan is go out there and punch him in the face. I'm going to go out there and punch him in the face and knock him out. And that is consistently Ray Cooper III's game plan. And most times, and if you really look at his past fights, I would have said, you know what? I don't know if he's evolved enough to beat somebody like Magomedov. But after watching the way he controlled and dominated Rory McDonald, it's hard for me to say that he's not going to go ahead and get it. Dude is a bowling ball. Now, I will say this. He did have to cut his hair. He's been growing his hair out for 9 years and had to cut his hair. He got that crew cut now because he ended up he had to cut it to make weight. So I'll keep my eye on that. And that gave me a little bit of concern, but not that much. I still think Ray Cooper is going to end up getting a dominant win, a dominant finish in this matchup. But also on this card, the featured bout of the night, we can say, and this, honestly, PFL card is stacked. It's full from top to bottom with former UFC champion fighters. You have Shoeface on this fighting for the championship and so much more. There's a lot of great talent on this card. Don't miss this card. It is going to be tonight, Wednesday, on ESPN. That's going to be fantastic. But also on this one, we have Claressa Shields. Claressa Shields is fighting Abigail Montez on this one. And look, I'm going to be honest with y'all. Get a little comfortable to talk about this one. A lot of people are making it like a foregone conclusion that Claressa Shields can go out there and win. And look, I am not a Claressa Shields hater. I think that I give her all the credit in the world for going all in and actually taking big-time fights. She's fighting tough matchups. And, yo, salute to the PFL matchmakers. Abigail Montez, yes, she's only 2-0. But she has an extensive amateur background. She trains with a great team here in the States. She trains with Team Body Shop in Long Beach with Antonio McKee and AJ McKee and all those guys over there. But she's also from Globo Gym. Globo Gym down there. Yes, no, not Globo Gym like fucking dodgeball. It's Globo Gym down in Guadalajara, Mexico. Alexa Grasso's actual team down there. So she is extremely well schooled. She's super tough. And this is a great matchup skill-wise for Claressa Shields. So I give her, and I'll preface my statement by saying this. I give Claressa Shields all the props in the world for getting in here, doing something that a lot of her male counterparts in boxing wouldn't have the fucking balls to do. Going in there at the top of her game, in her prime, essentially. She's still young, only like 25 years old. And she's going out there and trying a totally different sport at the highest level. I have to give her credit for that. She's a winner just strictly based on doing that. She's a two-time gold medalist. She is a beast for doing that. She calls herself the GOAT in boxing. I don't think she is, but yo, more power to you. She's supposed to feel that way. And she's a multiple division champion there. I think 3 or 4-time division champion there. Fantastic. Now, let's look at her in terms of MMA. She hasn't been trained. She's only been training for about a year. She has holes in her game. So in her last fight, some of the things that we saw that I didn't like, obviously, is her takedown D. She gets taken down at will. She doesn't have a lot of power. Yes, there's some strong thudding shots, but look at her boxing record. She only has 1 knockout on her record. She has to catch you pretty clean. Now, she can get you with accumulation of shots. And we have a lot of guys, even Paulo Costa, who is as big and as powerful as he is not really a one-punch knockout guy. He really isn't. He's a guy that's going to get you out of there with an accumulation of shots. Look at his fight against Uriah Hall. That was a fight that, if you really look at it, it was an accumulation of shots that ended up getting him. They're powerful accumulation shots. And that's something that I think Claressa Shields can really bring to MMA, more of an accumulation of power shots as opposed to that one punch shot. She's not Anthony Rumble Johnson. She's not going to get you out of there one, but she can get you with an accumulation of shots going out there and really establish a real sprawl and brawl. She's training out there with her great team. She's training out there with Jackson Wink. So we know what Jackson Wink has done and what they can do specifically with people who have transitioned to boxing. Holly Holm is a former boxing world champion before she became an MMA world champion. So they have experience in doing that. So I think that she can do it, but I don't know if she's going to have enough. I think Abigail Montez is super tough. I think she's super gritty. Now, she's a natural 135-pounder coming up. So the size is something and the strength is something that I have a question for in this fight. But if we're talking about skills to skills in terms of MMA, I think that Abigail is going to be too much for her. I think if Abigail gets on top of her, I don't know if Claressa Shields is going to have the game and the skill and just the toolbox. She'll have the grit to deal with it, but I don't know if she's going to have the toolbox to get out of it. Claressa Shields' last opponent didn't hit that hard and didn't have a specific grit to get out of specific positions and really rain down on her. One thing that I've realized about Abigail Montez is that she's fucking mean, and she's going to try to come down on her opponent. When she beats her opponent, she's trying to mess them up. Elbows, big punches. And also she leads with a lot of leg kicks. I'm curious how Claressa Shields is going to actually deal with the leg kicks because Montez throws a lot of leg kicks. I'm curious how this fight's going to go. No shade on anybody, but I have Montez winning this fight via stoppage. So we'll see what's going to happen with that one. But it's going to be a fun card nonetheless, man. Really quick, man, remember, if you guys are watching live, please don't forget to subscribe to the page. We appreciate you guys. Check us out everywhere podcasting is available. Google Play, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Check us out at thefightpodcast.com. Listen, like, subscribe, and share. And like I said, check out our Discord page as well, the Fight Podcast server on Discord. Check us out there. All right. The rest of the card is great. Like I said, Shoeface is on there. Anything else that I want to talk about with this? He had to cut his hair. She's a free agent, blah, blah, blah. Wrestling base. Boom. Perfect. Also, betting odds for this one. Kayla Harrison is a minus 3,500 favorite to the plus 150 dog and Taylor Guardo. And Claressa Shields is the minus 305 to the Abigail Montez plus 240. So I'll be honest with you. If you want to make any type of money on this card specifically, I'll put money on that Claressa Shields fight because, like I told you guys, I think Abigail Montez ends up winning that one. All right. Moving right along, let's go ahead and jump on into the UFC 267. All right, let's get a little swig. And remember, you guys are watching the Fight Podcast. Thank you guys, everyone who is watching the show live. All right, and we're going to do this every Wednesday. This is going to be our Wednesday weekly roundup. We're going to go ahead and talk about all the biggest stories of the week, preview fight cards. We'll do this every Wednesday, 12:30 Pacific, or I'm sorry, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, 9:30 Pacific. So we'll be doing this every Wednesday. Check out, make sure you schedule us in. That's what we'll be going ahead and doing. All right. UFC 267, we have Jan Blachowicz versus Glover Teixeira. This is going to be at the Yas Bay Arena at Fight Island. All right. This is going to be a fun one, man. This is a fight that I think a lot of people didn't anticipate when we were talking about the best in the world a couple years ago at light heavyweight. It's interesting to see that these guys have really, really developed as much as they have and evolved and have really had a resurgence in their respective ages and weight classes. We're talking about some guys who have both taken big losses. We've seen Glover Teixeira get flatlined by Rumble Johnson and beat up from pillar to post by Corey Anderson. We've seen Corey Anderson go out there and beat up from pillar to post Jan Blachowicz, and then we've seen Jan Blachowicz come back, put his lights out, put Luke Rockhold's lights out, and then put together in a phenomenal game plan and knock out Dominic Reyes and beat, in my opinion, the best fighter in the world, Israel Adesanya. So both of these guys have put runs together. Both of these guys have proven that later in age, they're still formidable and not just formidable, they're still the best in the world at what they do. And this title fight is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be either a crowning achievement to the career of somebody like a Glover Teixeira that's coming into this fight at 41 years old, or it's going to end up being the extension and the legitimacy of a title reign by a champion that nobody truly expected was ever going to be a champion in Jan Blachowicz. So Jan Blachowicz, for those who don't know, 28-8. He's on a 5-fight winning streak against Glover Teixeira, who was also on a 5-fight winning streak, 32-2. Like I said, 41 years old. But Jan isn't a spring chicken. His ass is 38 in his own right. This is going to be a fun fight. Both guys are super tough. Both guys are super gritty. And it sure can go either way. It's going to be one of those fights that's really a war of attrition. Two guys that are well-rounded, two guys that are strong. And when I see it, I think Glover has the advantage in terms of the grappling. I think that Jan is very well schooled on the ground in terms of control and can keep the fight standing with the best of them. But he's also been shown that if he can get taken down, he can get controlled. We saw that happen against Corey Anderson. So when I think about this fight and I look at this matchup, maybe I'm thinking of momentum, and I've seen what he's done with some of the best guys in the world. I'm leaning towards Glover Teixeira in this one, maybe because I just want him to win. But it is going to be a good fight. But this brings me to my next point. The winner of this fight, does the winner of this fight make him the best 205-pounder in the world? And I really do question that. I think it puts him in the conversation, but is he better than a Kadim Nimkov of Bellator? Is he better than a Corey Anderson? But Corey Anderson comes out and wins this tournament. I don't know. And it's interesting because I think this is the first time in a very, very long time that Bellator can make a legitimate claim to having the best light heavyweight in the world. So we'll see what is happening with this fight. But depending on how the fight really goes, and if it's really dominant on one end or the other, then yes, we can say, yo, that is the best light heavyweight in the world. But if it's an all-out war, and then we on the other side on Bellator, we see either Nimkov or Anderson go out there and just flatline the other guys, they might have the best light heavyweight in the world. So it's interesting to see. It's going to be a fun fight and this card is fucking free. This card is free. This card is free. And it's going to be on ESPN. Well, free-ish, right? You got to have ESPN Plus, but it's going to be on ESPN Plus. So it's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Also on this card is a great fight. On paper, I love this. And this is one of the only times that I really do agree with having an interim title fight, because a lot of times with interim fights and interim type of cards, man, it like look at the heavyweight title fight with the whole fiasco with Derek Lewis and Cyril Gane and everything like that. That was a shit show. That should never happened. But this one is a legitimate reason. The champion has a neck injury. He's going to be out. And real quick, before I even get into this fight, yo, the slander to Aljamain Sterling has to stop. It really does. He went out there, and yes, he was losing a fight to Petr Yan, who was a champion at the time, but it was a competitive fight. Was he losing at the time? He was absolutely losing at the time, but it doesn't mean that he's not a great champion. Yo, he blanked and beat Corey, and everybody is so high on Corey Sandhagen. Even a lot of people are picking Corey Sandhagen to beat Petr Yan. Do we forget what Aljamain Sterling did not that long ago to Corey Sandhagen? People are making it seem like that was a fluke. It wasn't a fluke. Aljamain has been doing this to a lot of guys. Rafael Sensei, you can go the list down. He is a legitimate championship contender, championship level guy. The way that it went down with him and Petr Yan and the way he's acted afterwards, whatever. It is what it is. But the slander that this man is getting in terms of not actually being a legitimate champion, yo, get the fuck out of here, man. Dude is a beast. He earned his spot. And when whoever wins this interim title fight deserves to fight Aljamain. They have earned their right to fight Aljamain Sterling, the champion, right now. Okay. And then the winner of that fight is going to fight TJ Dillashaw. But let's go ahead and talk about this fight. Petr Yan versus Corey Sandhagen, 135 bantamweight interim title fight. On paper, this fight is amazing, okay? Two guys that are strikers. You have Petr Yan, 15-2, 4 wins via KO. 2 takedowns per fight on average against Corey Sandhagen, 14-3, 4 wins via KO, and 1 and 2 via submission. He is a monster. I love the way he strikes. I love his movement. He had a great fight recently and that he lost against TJ Dillashaw. A lot of people said that they had Corey winning. I didn't. I generally didn't. I had TJ winning that fight, but it was a close fight. It was a pick'em fight, and if Corey won, I would have been mad, but I did have him winning. And you know who else had him winning that fight? Petr Yan thought the exact same thing. Petr was like, no, TJ won, but it was close enough that he earned his spot. And as we already know, TJ's hurt. TJ's hurt. He can't fight, so that's why he's not there, so that's okay. But this fight's going to be interesting because stylistically, Petr Yan does get hit, especially early on in fights. He gets hit with flying knees. He got hit with a couple flying knees, not only by Aljamain Sterling, he got hit by a couple flying knees by Jose Aldo as well. So he's there to get hit by these shots, but he's extremely resilient. He comes downhill, and the way he pressures and his power shots really do slow down and break down his opponents. He has an extraordinary will, so he's going to always come downhill. I love what he does. I love Petr Yan's style, but Corey Sandhagen seems like he might be somebody that his style, if he can stay from getting taken down, because one thing I will say about Corey Sandhagen is that he doesn't have, and yes, he had fantastic takedown defense against a one-legged TJ Dillashaw, but generally his takedown defense isn't that great. He allows himself to get taken down, though, because he's so good on the ground. He can scramble. He gets back up. But it makes me question if I ain't going to stunt. I got Corey winning this fight. I think that his power, his skills, his direction is going to do enough to confuse the former champion Petr Yan, and I think he can end up getting caught with the big shot. But I'm curious to see how the fight goes on 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds, because that's when Petr can really come down here and catch him with some big shots. The size difference is huge height differential. I think it's a 6-inch height differential or something like that. So again, fight can go either way. Great fight on paper. Winner of this fight will fight Aljamain Sterling. Winner of that fight will fight TJ Dillashaw. There we go. All right, moving right along. Let's talk about, honestly, the feature matchup a lot of people want. It has so much title implication. This one, Islam Makhachev, the protege, the training partner, the brother, the cousin of the Khabib Nurmagomedov, is going out there against the man, the myth, the legend, my dude, Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker, 21-10, 6 wins via knockout, 2 via submissions. Again, Islam Makhachev, 20-1. 1 UFC loss in his entire career. He caught that early in his career via KO, but 4 wins via submission, 1 win by him versus for a knockout. I'll say this. I think Islam is going to be champion eventually. I think Islam is phenomenal, but I think this is the step up fight that he needed. Dan Hooker is somebody that can win this fight. Dan Hooker is super tough. Dan Hooker is super durable. I think about the fight that he had with Dustin Poirier, a back and forth war that could have gone either way until just the wave that is Dustin Poirier broke him down. And I think that Islam Makhachev has the same type of wave that can break you down late in fights, but he's going to have to go through hell to end up getting it. And when I look at this fight, it can go either way. Dan Hooker is so well-rounded, but one thing that you see with Dan Hooker is that he can get caught. Look what happened with Michael Chandler. Islam Makhachev can indeed strike. And if he gets you down, he's going to control you. I think Islam Makhachev gets a decision win here. I think he gets a dominant win that he needed, a showcasing type of win that he wanted. Because remember, Dan Hooker took this fight on short notice. So either way, this fight's going to be amazing. It really is going to be amazing. But I have to go with Islam Makhachev. I love this fight. Islam Makhachev is going to win this fight and then call for the winner of Dustin Poirier versus the champion, Charles Oliveira. I love it, man. So far, great weekend of fights coming up, man. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to watch it. I'm going to be locked in We have one on Wednesday. We have this one, on Saturday. And remember, everybody, thank you so much for watching live. Listen to podcasting everywhere podcasting available. Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud. Just check us out at thefightpodcast.com. Please listen, like, subscribe, and share specifically to this video, to our page, and let your friends and everybody know about the greatest combat sports and culture show in the entire universe, Fight Podcast. All right. Really quick, I want to talk about a couple other things. On that fight card, we also have the return of Khamzat Chimaev, 9-0, against Li Liang, the Leech, the number 11th ranked welterweight in the world. This is going to be a great fight. This is also great matchmaking. It's great matchmaking because Li Liang is someone who is a legitimate problem. He one punch knocked out Ponzinibbio Santiago before, which that shit don't happen. Yes, he was coming off of a long layoff, but Ponzinibbio is an absolute beast. And when he's at his best, he's one of the best in the world. And Li Liang went out there and absolutely knocked him out one punch. So I'm curious to see Khamzat after he fought so many times in 2020. We haven't seen him since September of 2020. But in 3 UFC fights, he has 87 significant strikes over 3 fights and has only absorbed 1 strike in those 3 fights. Dude went out there, his last fight, in 17 seconds, knocked out Gerald Marchart, who was an absolute monster himself. Dude is a beast, but I'm curious, man. I'm curious to see how he's going to come back. This will tell me a lot of him. And if he goes out there and beats the Leech, I'm telling you, fuck, man, put a rocket ship on his back. You put him up there at the very top. Have him fight somebody like a Bilal Muhammad. Have him fight somebody, in that top 6, because he's ready for it. He's absolutely ready for it, and I can't wait for this fight. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, we have a couple news and notes for the week before we get out of here. And we have some fights that I'm looking forward to, man. Some of the fights that I'm looking forward to that I want to talk about is Bellator, and I talked about earlier in the show, Kyoji Horiguchi against Sergio Pettis, Bellator 272, December 3rd for the Bantamweight Championship. I love this fight. I love this fight so much. It is such a fun fight. 2 of the best guys in the world in the weight class. 21-5 Sergio Pettis against 29-3 Horiguchi. This fight can go either way. It's a battle. It's a lot of fun. 2 extremely well-rounded guys. I lean towards Horiguchi in this fight card, but it leads me to say what's going to happen to the number 1 contender of that matchup, who is Sergio Pettis' teammate, who is the Bellator already gave him an opportunity, and they said, yo, Rafion Stotts, you can either wait or you can take a fight. Rafion Stotts on this show, he said it, and he said it since then on his Instagram. He said, yo, I'll fight anybody. I want Juan Archuleta. Juan Archuleta, where you at? That would be a fantastic fight. That would be a clear-cut number 1 contender fight. The former champion who lost to Sergio Pettis put himself right back into the mix against his teammate, against somebody who was vying for that spot. I would love that fight. 2 fights that I think Bellator needs to make, but Sergio Pettis versus Horiguchi, I love that shit. A fight that I'm so looking forward to. Also on the boxing end, we got Tank Davis 25-0 against Rolly Romero. This is a fight that I didn't think was going to happen. It doesn't need to happen, but it's going to be fun because Rolly Romero is going to sell the fight. He's a madman. Dude is fucking nuts. But one thing I'll say about him, he has a lot of power. He's going to get flatlined in this fight, probably within 3 rounds. Tank Davis is fantastic. That fight is going to be Sunday, December 5th at the LA Staples Center. I am trying to be, and I'll probably be in the building for that matchup. A couple other things. Tony Ferguson versus Nate Diaz is a possibility. It's Chael Sonnen on his show said that that's a fight that the UFC wants. That's a fight that Nate Diaz wants. Nate Diaz tweeted a picture of that. So let's see what happens with that one. I would love it. It makes sense for both men's career. Why not? Why not make that fight? I love it. And on other news, BKFC signs Mike Perry. Mike Perry's contract ran out with the UFC. The UFC let him go kind of quietly, might I add. But he signs with BKFC. And to be honest with you, this is a signing that makes sense for not only Mike Perry, but it makes sense for BKFC. They usually get guys at the tail end of their careers. They get them 35 and plus. He's only 30 years old. And he can still he's still a name within the combat sports community. So interesting fight or interesting pickup. He'll probably be fun to watch over there. I don't watch that shit no way, but I'm sure people are going to enjoy him there. All right, guys, but check it out. That is about all the time I have today. I wanted to go ahead and jump in here for you guys and really break down everything for tonight's PFL card, this weekend's UFC 267, some fight news, and have a lot of fun, man. With that being said, this is Serge Vicente. Yo, the Chicago Bulls are killing. I love it. My Bulls are doing their thing. Lakers are back at it. Wale's album is fantastic. And if you guys haven't had an opportunity, jump on our YouTube page. Check out our interview with Jose Shorty Torres. It's going to be fantastic. A great interview that we have coming up there that's already live. Also, check out our interview that we have with Ariel Helwani, Eric Nixick, and more on our YouTube page. With that being said, like I said, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe. Listen to the Fight Podcast everywhere podcasting is available. Apple, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Check us out at thefightpodcast.com. Listen, like, subscribe, please, to this video and share. Check out our Discord page. The link will be in this video below when it's done. And thank you guys. Love you. This is Serge Vicente. Check us out at Serge Vicente. We will see y'all next time right here on the Fight Podcast. Peace out.